How many drops can your Z Fold 8 actually survive before the hinge gives out? Most drop-proof cases are only tested on flat phones, not folding ones. We lined up 6 cases built specifically for the Z Fold 8, and the one that wins this list is the only one of the 6 with a drop height claim specific enough to actually mean something. Let's start with the one that's really just a stand wearing a case. 6. WSKEN Magnetic Case 360-degree Ring Stand. The WSKEN is the most honest case on this list, and that's not really a compliment. Look at the actual product listing and you'll notice it doesn't say military grade anywhere. It says daily drop protection. Every other case in this lineup reaches for MIL-STD language, self-certified or not. WSKEN skips it entirely, which either means they didn't bother testing to that level or they're not willing to make a claim they can't back up. Either way, it tells you where this case sits in the lineup before you even open the box. What it does well: 952 magnets for MagSafe style attachment, a slim, matte finish that doesn't add much bulk, a 360-degree ring stand for propping the phone up, and 2 HD screen protectors in the box instead of the usual one. That last part matters. Most budget cases give you a single protector and hope you don't mess up the install. 2 means you get a second shot if the first one bubbles at the corner, which is the single most common reason people give up on tempered glass with a case installed. The catch is straightforward. Nothing here suggests engineered impact absorption. No airbag corners, no camera bezel height mentioned, no hinge cover called out separately from the main shell. It's a magnetic stand case that happens to have a shell around it, not a drop case that happens to have a stand. If you're gentle with your phone and you mainly want the ring stand for video calls and a magnetic snap for your car mount, this covers you fine. If you're the person who's already cracked a screen on a previous fold, skip to something further down this list that actually earns the word protection in its name. This next one solves the stand problem the WSKEN doesn't even attempt, but it swaps drop engineering for a different kind of confidence. A number. 5. TORRAS Ostand L1. TORRAS built the Ostand L1 around one job: standing your Fold 8 up without a wobble. The stainless steel kickstand is described as flush, meaning it sits recessed into the case body instead of bolting on top of it. And it's rated to hold the phone steady in both portrait and landscape for video calls, streaming, or typing on the unfolded screen. If your Fold spends most of its life propped up on a desk, this is genuinely the most stand-focused case in the group. On magnets, TORRAS quotes 2 different numbers depending on where you look. The Amazon listing for this exact case says the 952 magnetic array delivers up to 18 newtons of holding force. TORRAS's own site lists the same Ostand L1 line at up to 16 newtons. That's not a huge swing, but it's worth knowing the number isn't perfectly consistent across their own channels. Treat up to 18N as the ceiling, not the guarantee. It comes with 2 screen protectors in the box, same as WSKEN. Here's the honest catch. TORRAS labels this mil-grade hinge protection, but that phrase only covers the hinge specifically. There's no equivalent language about the corners, the frame, or a tested drop height for the whole case. Compare that to a case that claims full-body military-grade protection, and this is a narrower promise. It's protecting the one part that's expensive to repair, but it's not claiming to protect the phone as a whole from a fall. This is a stand case first and a drop case second. Great if your Fold rarely leaves your desk. If it lives in your pocket and gets dropped on concrete twice a month, the case one spot up gives you more coverage for the same basic use case. 4. SPIDERCASE Magnetic Kickstand Case. SPIDERCASE takes the opposite approach from TORRAS. This one leads with military-grade heavy-duty drop protection right in the product title, and the design backs that framing up more than the last 2. There's a 3mm raised edge specifically around the camera housing, which is enough clearance to keep the lenses off a table surface when the phone is lying flat and unfolded. A real concern given how far the Fold 8's camera bump sits proud of the back panel. The kickstand folds flush when not in use and locks into a 52-inch triangular structure when deployed, which is a more rigid geometry than a simple flip-out leg and should resist collapsing under light pressure. It also includes a magnetic ring built into the back for chargers, car mounts, and wallets, so you're not stuck adding a separate metal plate. Here's where I have to be straight with you. Military-grade heavy-duty drop protection is the phrase on the listing, but there's no MIL-STD number attached to it, no cited drop height in feet, and no mention of third-party testing. That doesn't mean the case is weak. The raised camera edge and hinge coverage are real, verifiable design choices, but it does mean the marketing language is doing more work than the spec sheet backs up. Treat military grade here as a description of intent, not a certification. If dedicated camera protection and a stable stand matter more to you than a specific drop height number, this earns its spot. If you need something you can point to and say, this is independently rated, keep going. The next 3 get more specific. Before we get to the last 2, here's something nobody puts in the bullet points. A hinge cover is only as good as what happens when you actually try to fold the phone with the case still on. If the case fights the mechanism even slightly, you feel that every single day, not just the one day you drop it. 3. BENKS ArmorGrid Pro Grand Combo. BENKS ships this as a 3-piece kit rather than a single shell. A genuine Kevlar and TPU case fused together by in-mold injection, a separate color-matched PC front frame, and a fitted Glass Warrior HD screen protector designed to install with that exact frame. That last detail is the part worth calling out, because the frame and the glass are matched to each other by the same manufacturer. The classic lip conflict problem, where a case edge pushes up a third-party glass protector, is largely designed around from the start, rather than left for you to troubleshoot after the fact. The case itself uses 4-corner airbag construction to absorb impact at the points a folding phone is most likely to land on, plus a raised TPU lens frame and a magnetic hinge cover rated at 10 newtons for MagSafe style accessories. Kevlar is a genuine material upgrade over plain TPU or polycarbonate. It's the same aramid fiber used in protective gear, chosen here for tear resistance rather than as a marketing buzzword. Now, the honest catch, and it's a real one. I could not fully confirm which exact variant your specific Amazon listing points to. BENKS sells this same ArmorGrid Pro Grand Combo under separate listings for the standard Z Fold 8 and the Z Fold 8 Ultra, and the two are not interchangeable. Different dimensions, different hinge geometry, different camera cutout. Before this goes live, double-check the listing title against your device to make sure it says Z Fold 8, not Z Fold 8 Ultra. Design-wise, this is one of the more thoughtfully engineered kits on the list. But a great case for the wrong device fits nobody, so the fitment check isn't optional here. It's the whole ballgame. 2. Spigen Slim Armor Pro S MagFit. Spigen brings the most mechanically specific engineering of anything on this list. The hinge cover uses a patented spring mechanism that automatically encloses the hinge at all times. Not a cover you have to remember to snap shut. And it's held together with Spigen's SecuLink system, which uses heat-treated SUS 420F steel pins to interlock the front and rear panels, instead of relying on friction-fit plastic tabs that tend to loosen after months of folding. Spigen states this hinge assembly has been validated through more than 100,000 folding cycles. Worth noting, that's a fold durability test, not a drop test, but it does speak to how well the case will still be sealed around the hinge a year from now, instead of gapping at the seam. The kickstand is machined from 6061 aluminum, the same alloy family used in aircraft components, rather than stamped sheet metal or plastic, which should hold an angle without flexing on a desk or in a car mount. Air cushion technology sits in the corners for impact absorption, and raised edges keep the camera housing elevated off flat surfaces. It's also Qi 2 wireless charging compatible, so you're not giving up fast wireless charging to run a case. The catch: Spigen doesn't publish a specific drop height figure or a MIL-STD number for this exact model either. So, on paper, it sits in the same no certified number category as SPIDERCASE and TORRAS. What separates it is the depth of mechanical detail Spigen is willing to name. Specific steel alloy, specific aluminum grade, a named interlock system, which reads less like marketing copy and more like an actual engineering sheet. 1. FNTCASE magnetic case, 18 feet, military grade. FNTCASE takes the top spot for one simple reason. It's the only case in this group willing to put an actual number on its drop claim. The listing states 18 feet military grade drop proof. 18 feet, not just military grade as a vague label sitting on its own. That's still a manufacturer-reported figure with no independent lab behind it, and you should treat it that way. But a specific number is easier to hold a brand accountable to than an adjective with nothing attached to it. Beyond the headline claim, the case covers the basics well. Hinge protection built into the shell rather than sold separately, a screen protector included in the box, and a translucent matte back that shows off the phone's color without going fully clear. It's also built to fit MagSafe-style chargers and accessories without a separate metal ring. The honest catch here is about the finish, not the drop rating. Translucent matte backs, especially on budget tier cases, are typically standard TPU or PC, and neither material has any documented anti-yellowing treatment mentioned in this listing. Over months of UV exposure, expected to shift color the way most clear or translucent cases eventually do, since there's no anti-oxidation coating called out the way a few premium clear cases advertise. It's a cosmetic issue, not a protection one. But if you keep your phone unclad looking for years at a time, know that going in. For a Fold 8 that's genuinely going to get dropped, pockets, car seats, kids' hands, this is the case with the most specific promise behind it, and the fewest gaps in basic coverage. That's why it tops the list. Closing recap. If your Fold 8 mostly lives on a desk propped up for video calls, go with the TORRAS Ostand L1 or SPIDERCASE. Both are built around a stable stand first. If you're already running a glass screen protector and don't want to fight the case over it, the BENKS combo is designed specifically to avoid that conflict. Just confirm you're grabbing the standard Fold 8 listing, not the Ultra. If you want the most mechanically detailed engineering on the hinge itself, Spigen's Slim Armor Pro S is the one to trust long-term. And if raw drop protection with a specific number behind it is all that matters to you, FNTCASE takes the top spot on this list. Links to everything are in the description, in the same order as the video. If this saved you from guessing on your next case, drop a like and subscribe. We'll have Z Fold 8 Ultra cases up next.